Hello, welcome to the Shine Dating After Cancer Connect session. My name is Neil. I'm from Scotland originally, but I live in London, and I've been a Shine member and I now work for Shine as well. And I had a brain tumour about 3.5 years ago. And we're going to be talking to you a little bit about our experiences of dating after cancer and look at a few top tips and hopefully answer some questions as well. So on to you, Claire.
Yeah, hi, I'm Claire. I'm one of the network leaders, the volunteer network leaders in London. I joined Shine maybe 5 years ago, although I had cancer a long time ago when I was a teenager. I had a Ewing's osteosarcoma. It's left me with a lot of long-term health problems, so I'm sort of still in and around the hospital world a lot. But yeah, really nice to be here, and I'll let Jess introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Jess. I'm one of the other London network leaders for Shine. I was diagnosed with a rare type of blood cancer called Waldenstrom's macroglobulinemia about 5 years ago now. And it's a chronic type of blood cancer, so is incurable but treatable, and I have lots to share about dating. So on to Kirsty.
And hi, I'm Kirsty, and I am I had an osteosarcoma, so primary bone cancer in my left leg. And I'm someone that has recently finished treatment, so kind of very recently been getting back into dating, and it kind of like getting back into it because, being honest, I just love dating and everything about it.
Thank you. Awesome. So we all know how much of a minefield dating is already, and then adding into it a cancer diagnosis, it's so difficult. And I know a lot of people have that real fear about how to get out there dating again, or what to do, or just how to sort of prepare themselves. And we all know how hard it is, and it really isn't easy. But hopefully through this session you can pick up a couple little tips and see if anything helps you at all. Because I know you were dating in the last lockdown, Kirsty, weren't you?
Yeah. Well, you say dating, use it loosely, because my treatment ended earlier than expected because of COVID. So I kind of saw it as a way, I was thinking, I'm in lockdown, I'm bored anyway, I'm not really sure how to tackle this or what to do. So I really went for it and put myself on social media, but was very open about the fact that I had cancer. So I did put photos of me of what I looked like at that time. So there were photos of me with my bald head, or in my wig, or with the hat on, or whatever. And yeah, it was really, I actually really liked it because there were so many people that were locked in and bored. Actually, they just wanted to chat away as well. There was no pressure to meet up, which was nice because everyone was locked away, and social distancing was a thing. There was really no pressure, which was nice because I wasn't wanting to meet up with anyone anytime soon. But what I could then do is online dates. So I actually tackled a few let's meet online, let's have a Zoom together. So I orchestrated maybe a fancy dress get together on one. I orchestrated like mini quiz night. So you can definitely still do stuff if you're having to shield or at home, because I did that. And it's a bit weird to start with, but I thought it was great. It kept it fun as well, because for me, I didn't want to talk about cancer anymore. I was like, I'm done talking about cancer. And it was nice to have some entertaining conversations. And I played quite a few games as well. So, things like sending the 30-day music challenge. And I would send them a song each day, and they would send me a song each day with the theme. And it just meant you were talking about things that weren't COVID and wasn't cancer. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think, Jess, you mentioned that you were dating just before lockdown and
Yeah.
kind of like COVID and
Yeah, so first of all, I'm a little bit in awe of you and your fancy dress dating. I think that's amazing. And I love that you were like, yeah, sometimes it was weird, but I just organised fancy dress.
well,
So
I
think
dressed
that's
up as the
like, you're my hero.
thanks. I mean, just so you know, I dressed up as the pigeon from Wacky Races.
Of course you did.
Amazing.
So my boyfriend and I met about 6 weeks before the first lockdown. So had really only just met and had been on, you know, a handful of dates and stuff. But things were so uncertain with the first lockdown, and I did hardcore shielding for 3 months and didn't really leave the house. And for most of that time, we were apart and trying to like continue our whatever it was, and ended up falling in love. And so that's good.
Ah,
So we tried to do dates online. It was also my birthday just after the first lockdown started. So we kind of cooked the same meal together and then sat down and had a nice dinner. And we tried to do that like, you know, at least once a week, I would say. And then also do things like watch films together and just generally chat, I suppose. And I think lockdown gave us a bit of time and space to kind of take things at our own pace, I guess. So that was really nice in a way. And I think one of the benefits of lockdown, specifically for cancer patients, I think, is that it takes a lot of the fatigue out of it. You know, you don't have to worry about leaving your house or like getting tired on the way there, or, you know, how are you going to get home? What are you going to do if it's a rubbish date and you just want to leave because you're already at home? So I think there's actually quite a lot of benefits to dating during lockdown. And a year ago, if we'd have said do a video call date, people would have thought you were mad. But now I think it's like the perfect way to dip your toe in the water, try something new and see if you've got any chemistry before you actually commit to going anywhere. So yeah,
it's a really good point, because I've at first I was kind of really over dating. You know, I've been in relationships, out of relationships, dating, not dating, all post cancer. So I kind of been there and done it all. But I got really, to be honest, really fed up with, not really fed up with dating, but the energy that it was taking of me, and like deep managing fatigue and dating. I just found really tough. I was like so exhausted and so worried that I wouldn't be on top form because I couldn't be witty and quick, and because I just was so tired all the time. And I think it's taken me some time in lockdown. First of all, I wrote off dating, like I'm sure a lot of people, how are you going to date in lockdown? And actually it's been like more recently, the last few months, I've just thought, well, sod it, let's just chat online with people. We both know it's probably not going to go anywhere, and being much more upfront than I would normally be. Because of that, it's taken the pressure off sitting across the table from someone, trying to get your words out and stumbling. I'm just like, it's all in message at first, and it's kind of, I guess, we've invested less because it's so much easier, which I guess it's got its pros and cons. But one of the pros is that I'm much more like, look, I'm looking for a relationship. I'm not messing around. I won't be able to meet you for a while. So if you're serious, let's just chat and see what happens with lockdown. Yeah. It's been quite.
And you really have to get dressed from the waist up. So
I think
energy.
What do you guys think about? I think one of the biggest ones we always hear is about when do you disclose the fact that you've had cancer? Do you write your full medical history on your Tinder profile, or?
Yeah, there's not room for that, Neil.
What do you guys think? I mean, I was open about it from the start, but that's mainly because at the time there was no hiding it, because I looked like the stereotypical cancer patient, and I at the time when I put myself online, I wasn't even walking. You know, I still wasn't recovered from my operation, let alone chemo. So, you know, for me, I had to be upfront from the beginning, because, you know, even things like, you know, what are you doing today? Well, because I was still having a targeted drug weekly, I was in hospital having an IV drip weekly, and then would have side effects. So I put it on my profile. I think, and I made light of it. So I think I said something along the lines of like, no, your eyes do not deceive you. August 2019, I had long blonde hair, cancer struck, now I resemble an egg, and just kind of I kept it quite lighthearted.
Yeah.
But if I'm dating in the future, I'm not necessarily sure that's the way it would be, because cancer wouldn't be that big a part of my life necessarily. So I don't know how you guys have handled it.
I think that's a really important thing. Like it depends on people's situation. It depends on time. I mean, for some people, they might feel most comfortable being really upfront with it. For some people, it might be second date. For some people, it might be first date. I know for myself, it's never on my profile, but on a first date, I will always mention it. But I have my script where I say, oh, I had this and this happened to me, but everything's fine, or this has happened and this is what I'm doing, but move the conversation on to you. So what's your favorite vegetable or something? Yeah, I know it doesn't always work that well. Yeah.
But all that stuff also gets so much easier. I remember the first date I went on, kind of where I thought I'm going to have to explain that I'm not working, that this is what my life looks like for these reasons, being so nervous, and being just like really having kind of thought it all through and structured it and planned. And actually the more you do it, the easier it gets. And that I think the more comfortable you are explaining your history, the more comfortable the listener will be, because I think it is, you just kind of lead by example with how relaxed you are, or how, if you're super uptight and tense, then probably that's how they'll respond as well.
Practice makes perfect. Huh?
Yeah, it is nerve-wracking the first time, but I just think, I mean, I would say even just practice those conversations with people who, not people who don't matter, I don't mean that, like friends, people you go like, I'm going on a date, I need to explain my health. Does this sound like, how does this sound as a listener?
I would say that's a great idea. And as well, I think that's what's really useful is for people that maybe feel they're not able to sort of jump straight into dating, or they don't want to do that, but they know they want to do that in the future, is building up that confidence. And sort of maybe just, I mean, I always say, like, there's nothing wrong with sort of just thinking, right, this week, I'm just going to give the bus driver a compliment. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go on a date with him, but I'm just going to like practice building that confidence. And then when I do that, I'm going to celebrate doing that, instead of going on a date, not being ready, not being confident, and beating myself up.
Love that.
And what do you guys think about sort of body confidence as well? Because that's another issue that really comes up a lot.
Yeah, I mean, on the when to tell point, on that quickly, I've changed my view on that. So I used to not mention it at all. And because I didn't feel comfortable doing it, and I think now with hindsight it was because I wasn't really comfortable with having cancer, but now it's like yesterday's news. And I now do put it on my dating profile. And the reason that I decided to change that is because I found that by not saying it, it made it a big deal, or sometimes made it a big deal. And then if I met someone and I liked them, then it was like, oh shit, when am I now going to tell them, kind of thing. Whereas now, like one of the sites has the question, you should contact me if blah, blah, blah. And then I put, if you think cancer survivors are awesome. And then like if we're in the initial chat with people, I'll sometimes say, oh, did you read my profile? And then either they say yes, or they say no, and then they go and read it. And then I know that they know, and then we just talk about it whenever it comes up naturally. And I feel a lot more comfortable with that, because I feel like it just takes the headache away from me. And that's all I put in it. I don't say like what type or whatever, but yeah, I'm kind of happy with that.
I think that's a good point, isn't it? Is like what works for you really, and there's no right answer for people to go, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that.
Yeah.
Again, like Claire, you said, like that trial and error, and just like chatting with your friends and seeing what makes you feel most comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
I do, however, stand by the fact that it is the best filter.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
being honest, it will filter out the people that are bothered by it, and you don't want those people contacting you. I know
They're not for
I don't-
us.
yeah, exactly. So like, I do think if you are open about it, it is a fantastic filter, because and it can relieve quite a bit of stress. But I can also see why some people want to hold it back for a while, because it is quite.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna do a live Q&A after this, so we'll answer any questions as well if anyone's got anything specific with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the next thing we were thinking about is body confidence and the sort of everything that comes with that. And I know my experience as well of being a man and assuming that you don't think about your body, or you're not a bit worried because you put 2 stone on steroids and you're losing your hair, or you have no hair, and you've got a big scar on the back of your head, but you're a guy, you're fine. So I found that quite difficult. And sort of the new me that I didn't really like that much. It took me a little bit of time to get over that, really, I think, and get used to that.
How did you get over that?
Sorry?
How did you get over that, or learn to live with it?
A lot of self-compassion and counselling, and just a lot of sort of self-development, a lot of peer support as well. So places like in the Shine community, just people who were really kind and really nice, and just learned a lot about how to sort of be kind to myself, but also that like specifically with dating, people aren't not wanting to date me because I've had cancer, because I look the way I look. They might not have wanted to date me already. So sort of coming to that realization, and I guess not thinking that everything is going to revolve around the cancer. I mean, lots of people that I've been on dates with, I've told them, they've just been a bit like, all right, okay. And then we've talked about something else. I mean, it's not I think I built it up as this huge thing, and it really wasn't.
And I think part of that kind of anxiety about being different or being changed or whatever, anxiety is almost always made worse in like isolation. So having those conversations, like we have our little dating group in the Facebook, going on there and just going, look, actually I'm really self-conscious about this scar, or whatever the side effect is, or losing my hair, like having a load of people go, oh god, me too, just like really helps. It doesn't necessarily, it's not going to fix anything, but as soon as you feel less alone with it, there's a feeling of like, I'm not weird for feeling like this. And it's that feeling of kind of difference that will make you nervous if you're going out to meet new people, full stop, let alone in a dating scenario, I think. So sharing those anxieties, I'd say, is huge.
And Kirsty, how did you manage with the sort of, with I guess the hair loss and the sort of new you going dating?
Like, I think it comes back down to, like Jess said, about the telling people about cancer. With me, it's accepting that this is who I am now, this is what I look like, I can't change that, and being insecure about it is another worry that I don't need. And being honest, the biggest worry for me around like my confidence wasn't necessarily what I looked like, it was actually my physical capabilities have changed significantly. So like, whereas before when I was dating, I would go play tennis or go play badminton and stuff like that. I can't do that anymore. I'm not allowed to run. So I've had to change really like that side of me potentially. And that I found challenging for sure. Kind of like, if people want to, you go for a socially distanced walk, how far can I walk? I don't know. How far am I going to be able to walk today? So it's less the body confidence, but maybe confidence in my own body to actually do the things.
Yeah, I recognise that completely. So before I was diagnosed with cancer, I've lived with rheumatoid arthritis for all of my adult life, and that means that I have issues going on a date and standing up. I always need to sit down, otherwise like my pain skyrockets. And I remember years and years ago now, I went on a date and there wasn't anywhere to sit. So we looked for another pub and we ended up walking like pretty much from Waterloo all the way down to London Bridge. And by the time we got to London Bridge, I was in utter agony, but hadn't told them about my health. And, you know, it was a crap date anyway. Like, and I think sometimes you make mistakes like that. And I learned from that I was never again, ever gonna do that. And straight away, I would say, I need to sit down. I've got a bit of a dodgy back, and just kind of leave it there, or I've got a dodgy knee. But to be very clear, like what my physical needs were. And nowadays, like I don't give a shit about that kind of thing. But in terms of like body confidence, I didn't ever look different when I was having treatment. I didn't lose my hair. I looked pretty much the same even when I was, you know, riddled with sepsis. But after like taking loads of steroids, I put on a lot of weight, and for the first time in my life had body confidence issues. And I found that really, really hard, particularly when it came to like the thought of showing anyone my body. And I think it took me a long time to kind of learn to accept how I looked then. And, you know, I would send photos to some very good old friends in like my underwear, and then they would write back to me and say that I had like a nice ass and my tits were bigger. So that was one of the benefits of steroids. So, you know, and then gradually I kind of learned again to just accept that I had a different type of body shape that lasted about 2 years, and gradually that I didn't care anymore, and then eventually got to a stage where I was like happy with my body again. But it takes time as well, and I would say be kind to yourself too. And, you know, if you don't feel comfortable or you kind of get to that situation with somebody, then tell them about it if it feels safe to do so. And if it doesn't feel safe to do so, then just give yourself more time and don't be too hard on yourself.
And one really great piece of advice I remember that I got from, I think it was either you or Jess, you or Claire, Jess, but it was around the sort of not making everything into too big a deal. I was sort of going halfway across London to meet someone dressed up in a shirt and everything, and I'd get there and I'd just be a bit like, like, and because you know sometimes straight away, and then just I changed that to going to my local pub, wearing shorts and t-shirt as I would normally. And I mean, I mean, if someone that's how I normally dress. I'm not the most fashion conscious person, I guess. So if someone doesn't like me like that, they're probably not going to like me in the future. So just kind of not, I guess, not building up into being this great, enormous event and just being like, oh, I'm just going to meet someone for a drink in the pub, and if it doesn't work, that's
exactly. Fine. And then you've got the flip side of that. If it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world, because it's just, and like we've said before, I think between us, like just treat dates as practice. Just think, if you're going on a first date you haven't been on one in a while, go, right, I'm going to like warm up to this dating thing, not this date is the first date and it's the most important thing in the world.
No.
Like, this date is just a way to see how I feel about it, and actually almost like take back the power a little bit. Like, I'm going to go and decide whether I enjoy this process and whether it's for me right now, like rather than an obligation.
You can be your own champion.
And also the likelihood is they are going to be just as nervous meeting you. So like, I know when I met people, like in terms of, yes, my appearance has changed significantly, and like I did feel a sense of relief when actually I got to the person's car or door or wherever we were meeting, and like they smiled, and I'm like, oh. And I think it's because also, like, obviously I've done online dating, so there's pictures of me. I actually made sure those pictures did look like me, and like asked a friend, does this look like me? Because actually, if you put a fair representation of what you look like, when they meet you, they know that's what they've said yes to. So kind of like, I think that's quite important, is, you know, making sure that you give a fair representation of yourself. So then you know, by that you're being really kind to yourself, aren't you? Like, get rid of the filters, get rid of all of that stuff, and just be honest.
And I think we're just coming to the end of the half hour. Like I said, we are going to do a Q&A. So if you do have any questions for any of us, just give us a shout. But we're just going to finish on our top tips. I'll go first. I think my top tip is around sort of confidence building and around celebrating those goals. I think go on a couple of dates, and instead of going on them and thinking, right, I have to tell this person that they're the best thing ever, and just maybe focus on one thing you can do each date and think, right, I'm going to say one compliment. So I find that I'd go on a date and say, oh, I like your necklace. And that's not too big, that's not too stressful. You're welcome, Claire. But then after the date, I could go, yes, I did it. I've done it. I've done something good, instead of going after a date and thinking, no, I've mucked that one up.
Yeah.
But that's my top tip. On to you, Kirsty.
So I think my top tip probably isn't really related to anything I've said yet today, but maybe something to discuss in the Q&A is cancer isn't the reason why people don't want to date you or don't go on dates with you, or stop talking to you. Like, that happened to me all the time, way before cancer happened. So like, I have a habit of maybe sometimes going, oh, it's because I have cancer, isn't it? And actually it's remembering that it's not, and people out there are pretty awesome and understanding. You just got to find them.
Yeah.
So if I pass it on to Claire.
Yeah, I think we've probably touched on it a few times, but I'd say just, if you are worried about something particular, like whether it's body confidence or just explaining your story or the fact you don't work, whatever it is, just have a practice. Basically, don't let that first date be the first time that you've ever let those words out your mouth, because it gets a bit awkward and we stumble, and I think it's a lot easier if you're comfortable with the narrative that you want to give. So think about what things are going to feel like they might trip you up, and have a real like soul search about what you're happy sharing, what you're confident in, what language you want to use, and just try it out before you get there, basically.
Great idea. Getting a script together.
Yeah. Maybe bullet points, less of a script, because I'm terrible. My memory's gone rubbish because of chemo. So like,
yeah,
bullet lines anymore.
You can write them on your hand.
Yeah. How about you, Jess?
I think on that point, know how you're going to end the date, and by that I mean, like, if you like the person, what are you going to say? But more importantly, if you don't like the person, what are you going to say? And like, years ago I kind of discovered this tip, which was I basically learned a sentence that I was going to say if I wasn't feeling it right. And I remember the first date I used it on, I went to the toilet to like reread it on my phone, and I was absolutely bricking it. And then I said it, and now it's like second nature. And I just say, it's been really nice to meet you, but I don't feel like there's any chemistry there for me. And then kind of leave it like that. But when I started dating, I didn't have any way to end it, and I would end up going out like all night and having loads of drinks for someone I didn't like. So that's my top tip, like, be prepared how you're going to end it.
I've been in that situation too, where you're just like, oh, I don't want to make the other person feel bad. But I also learned that if you stick around there, the person assumes that you're into them, and then
Exactly.
It's much kinder, much better if you say you're going for one drink and you don't fancy them. That's fine. Yeah, you can move on. Great. Well, like I said, we're going to do a live Q&A now. So get your questions ready for all of us. And yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.